Do you know Mr. Stevens? Everybody knows that guy. Rumor has it, Mr. Stevens used to be with FBI. That his former place of residence was the famed Ashbury Heights. That he had a telltale alias, Mr. Stevens, the high rise. And today, among the big guys, famous beyond the scenes, lives and prospers Stephen Stevens, former chief of the Marines. Through the neighborhood, he's strolling through the backyards and the streets. There are patches on his shoulders, and a gun shines on his hip. There's a forage cap with badges and a greatcoat on his chest, and a military emblem shining on his buckled belt. He's marching from the station, and some Boy Scout on his way dropped his jaw in admiration.
What an awesome policeman!
Everyone looks up at Stevens. Old and young glance in his wake, staring at him when they see him, grinning widely as they say,
Wow, this guy is oversized. You don't get to see that twice.
Right, that uniform he sports suits him great. He is so hot. When he's standing out on guard, you will spot him from afar.
The river's brawling hard and loud, drifting ice is all around. In an ice hole, an old dame did her laundry the old way. The ice broke off, the river swayed, and the granny sailed away.
Oh my God! I'm up shit creek. Someone help me or I'll kick.
Mr. Stevens is on call. He's in charge of the bridge vault. Stevens squints into the mist like a captain on his ship, and he sees the ice drift float with the weeping dame on top.
Oh my God! I'm up shit creek. Someone help me or I'll kick.
In a flash, he scooped the granny, who was shitless, scared and fainting, clinging to her laundry tote.
I will never let it go.
Mr. Stevens saved the crock and her laundry and her tote. A guy walked out of a school. He was known for being cruel and he wanted to pull a stunt, but he's clueless where to start. Two cute girlfriends marched from school, bows and frills. They looked so cool. Books stacked neatly in their bags, all as perfect as it gets. Which was when they saw the scamp carrying bad marks in his bag. The girls weren't quick to step aside from the psychopathic guy when he shoved them in the dirt, laughing at their braided curls. He had no idea that Stevens had a very watchful eye. He had no idea that Stevens wasn't gonna let that fly. Little bastard faints in dread.
Tell me, where do you come from? What's the last name of your dad?
It was pointless to fight with a cup of such a height. Like a stretched-out palatine lies the newly filled ice rink. All the grandstands are packed out, and the speed skaters kick start. As they race around the plaza, fans are saying to each other,
Look, the tall guy's far ahead. Mr. Tall is far ahead.
Mr. Tall is far ahead. The one that's labeled number 8.
Then an overly strict daddy put a question to his sprout.
I suppose those awesome legs are custody of Spartak?
They were cut off by their mama.
Those legs play for Dynamo. It's a shame that your Spartak cannot possibly catch up.
Which was when the commentator has announced end of the race. Stevens is congratulated.
Way to go, Steve. Congrats.
Stevens is the source of pride of the city's FBI. Steve looks down, dropping his eyes, and receives the highest prize. To a toy store called The Kids World, full of toys in display windows, a vandal broken just for fun drew a nail out of his pocket, made a hole in a toy drum.
Pay for it.
A salesman told him,
No, I won't.
the vandal teased.
Should I call the cops, you dorkhead?
He retorts,
Oh, yes, please.
which was when all of a sudden his heart cringed inside his chest. In a rare mirror, he spied out Stephen's massive silhouette.
Do you want a charge for breakage?
No, of course not. No way.
You must pay for all the damage.
Sure, I'll do it. As you say.
Vindicator Mr. Stevens was a threat to little villains. Now what? At the railway station, a little boy is crying hard. He lost his mom at the reception. She is nowhere to be found. Mr. Stevens means no harm, takes the kid into his arms, raises him above the ground and above the restless crowd right up to the ceiling crown.
Take a look around. Son,
So the kid looked from above, and right next to the drugstore shop, there she was, his weeping mom who's lost her son and lost all hope. And his mother heard him yelling,
Mama, Mama, here I am!
Mr. Stevens beamed. The family didn't fall apart, amen. There's a traffic jam outside. Something's wrong with traffic light. While the yellow light's still on, but the green light doesn't turn. Tons of cars are droning horns. All they want is to start off. It's been 4 minutes, maybe 5, yet they're not allowed to drive. In that moment, Mr. Stevens asks the guy who's standing post,
having trouble, bro? I see that. You don't fix it. You're a toast.
and the guy is nearly screaming from a glass security booth.
Haha, very funny, Stevens. Better tell me what to do.
Stevens didn't want to fight. He just grabbed the traffic light, opened it, and peered inside, turning something on the sly. And it clicked that very moment. Now the light is glowing green. All the traffic was restored, and jams were nowhere to be seen. We were told that Mr. Stevens, ever since that fateful night, earned himself another nickname, as in
Mr. Traffic Light! Mr. Stevens, beg your pardon!
What's the matter?
Tell us, please. You retired from the Navy and then you joined the police.
Wasn't there a better venue or a better job than this?
Stevens says,
All right, my friends. I will answer your demands. Confidentially, I'll tell you that I serve in the police just because I find this labor so important to resist. Who is armed with guns and batons, on his guard whatever happens? Our national cop is the same as a watchdog. So no wonder that he freaks out from a military corpse, dreads the sight of a police car, he whose decency has been lost.
Mr. Stevens' conversation with the younger generation lasted late into the night, and the children, waving at him, shouted out,
See you later! See you later, Mr. Stevens! Mr. Steve, the traffic light!